the international community to end the violence and restore security to CAR. We have publicly condemned Seleka's seizure of power and his campaign of rape, pillage, and killings. We've also warned that individuals responsible for fueling and engaging in violence and human rights violations will be held accountable. Ambassador Power delivered this message directly to Transitional President Jotodia in a telephone conversation on December 7. On December 5th, the United States co-sponsored UN Security Council Resolution 2127, which establishes an arms embargo, a sanctions committee, and a panel of experts, a commission of inquiry, and an increase in the human rights monitoring capacity of the UN Political Office in CAR. In September, we co-sponsored the UN Human Rights Council resolution creating an independent expert position for CAR. To immediately stem the violence, we strongly supported the UN Security Council's authorization of a one-year Chapter 7 mandate for the African Union-led International Stabilization Force in the Central African Republic, MISCA, and for an expanded French troop presence in support of MISCA. We believe MISCA, working closely with French forces, provide the most immediate mechanism for ending the violence. In addition, we believe MISCA's robust stabilization mandate is what is needed now to confront and disarm the armed groups.
Well, just a few weeks before the fighting, I had a chat with Ms. Thomas Greenfield, and she discussed some other trouble spots on the continent. Ms. Thomas Greenfield, thank you so much for joining us on Diplomatic Channel. Well, you've been observing what's been going on in Africa, and it seems in the past few years, issues of peace and security have been major concerns for us here on the continent. Do you think that they've been on the decline?
I think we have seen some major deterioration in peace and security in Africa over the past few years. We have some success stories that we can't ignore. Liberia going through 14 years of civil war and now at peace. Sierra Leone, another positive example where the Nigerian government and military played a key role in bringing about peace. But there are some new areas of concern. The situation in CAR right now has us very, very worried. It's very serious. The reporting that's coming out of CAR now is grave, and we are concerned at the tone of the violence that it is developing between Christians and Muslims. That is not a good thing. We're very appreciative of the French government as well as African governments who have contributed troops through MINUSCA for CAR to help bring stability to that country. The U.S. government has made available $40 million to support peace and security in CAR, but this is going to be something that's going to require a tremendous amount of effort by the international community. I welcome the Security Council resolution that allows the Security Council, the UN, to start preparing for the possible need for peacekeeping operation that provides the French with Chapter 7 authority to bring about peace in CAR. And this is something that will gather the attention both on the humanitarian side as well as the security side of the U.S. government for some time.
Well, speaking of which, the United States recently labeled the Boko Haram sect a foreign terrorist organization, but what has that changed really?
The designation helps us by providing us certain tools to look at terrorist financing and hold those people who are financing Boko Haram and Ansaru as well, hold them accountable in the U.S. court system. It also allows us to work more closely with the government of Nigeria as the government addresses the threat that Boko Haram and Ansaru poses to the people of Nigeria.
Well, you do know that a few months ago, the Nigerian government declared some states in northern Nigeria, declared emergency rule in some states in northern Nigeria. You have been quite critical of the use of force in some of these states because you say sometimes it violates human rights and so on. But what other options of dealing with this terrorist group are we not exploring?
I think fighting terrorism is very complex, and it requires more than just security tools. Security tools deal with the security threats, but there are also related threats to communities. The people in those areas where Boko Haram is operating are victims of Boko Haram, but sometimes in the process they become victims of the actions of the government to deal with Boko Haram. So we want to continue to have discussions with the Nigerian government, share with them the experiences that we have had in dealing with counterinsurgencies and the impact that that has on civilian populations so that the civilian populations can be protected. In addition to that, in the case of Nigeria, we also want to look at the development needs of that region because there are many people who feel disaffected. They feel that the government is not there for them, and because of that, they are enticed or become witting supporters of Boko Haram. And so those social and political infrastructural requirements also need to be addressed. President Goodluck Jonathan was in Gombe announcing something called similar to a Marshall Plan for that area, and that is something that we welcome because we think it will show the community that the government is there for them.
Well, speaking of other parts of Africa, we know the U.S. is providing logistics support to Malian forces in fighting the insurgency in northern Mali, but what are you doing in the DRC?
In the DRC, we are working very closely with all of the countries in the Great Lakes. You know that we have a special envoy, Senator Feingold, who was appointed by Secretary Kerry to work with the other special envoys, including President Mary Robinson, who's the UN Special Envoy, to help bring about peace in that region. We've had some success. The Kampala negotiations between M23 and the government of DRC seem to have come close to conclusion. The fighting has stopped. The government of Congo was able to bring M23 out of the bush, and so the fighting has ceased, and we have been very involved in that process. We're also involved in the discussions that are taking place now to look at how to develop the eastern part of Congo so that it does not become a place where its resources become a reason for people to fight, a reason for violence.
Well, I'm going to go to Eastern Africa now, Kenya. The shopping mall attack and Al-Shabaab saying that they've attacked once, they will attack again. A lot of expatriates have left the country. They're afraid and concerned about their security. Are you also concerned?
We're more than concerned. We're very, very worried because what we see happening is that our successes in dealing with Al-Shabaab in Somalia has led them to look for softer targets. And that mall was a soft target. And I want to take the opportunity to express to the people of Kenya and others who had their citizens killed in that mall attack our condolences. We strongly believe that terrorism anywhere affects all of us. And so we are working very closely with countries in the region, with the Kenyans and the Ethiopians, the Ugandans, and others who have contributed to AMISOM to help push back the Al-Shabaab threat in Somalia, but also contain that threat so that it does not continue to spread around the continent of Africa.
But you know, Al-Shabaab seems to be taking out its anger at you, the West.
Well, I think they are taking out their anger against all of us. I don't think it's just us. I think they are threatening peace and security everywhere. And the mall in Kenya was a soft target, a way of saying to the Kenyan government that they were not happy about Kenya's involvement in Somalia, but also to the rest of us who are trying to bring peace to Somalia for the first time in many, many years. I think, again, we are having some success, but the job still is incomplete, and we'll continue to work with every country in the region until we bring this to an end.
Well, as you said, for the past few years in Africa, issues of security